Hello out there, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. It is February 6th, 2024. Let's get into our recap, and then we'll update our session plan and levels for today. So taking a look at our recap, we had only one line in the sand that was really interacted with during the session. We had this upper line in the sand here with scenario 1 being bullish up above it, scenario 2 being bearish down below. Let's take a look at how the price action ended up working out for us here. So we ended up seeing a little bit of a move to the downside here, coming right through our line in the sand. You can see there really were no opportunities to get long with scenario 1 in that whole push to the downside off of the open. So market pushes down, accepts below here at this section. So we're looking for shorts, switching into scenario 2. We end up seeing a short opportunity right here in these little highs here to get to the short side, and it just goes nowhere. So ends up being a trade that doesn't work out for us. We push back up above and we accept back into scenario 1 up here. And now we're looking for the long side, and we end up seeing a couple of plays that come into our area. This is the only one that really kind of went into our line of the sand, but it was into the close. So you would have had to have held that through the open of the market overnight and so forth. But so this really was the only acceptable spot right here to get into a long position. It didn't quite interact with that line in the sand, so touchy at best. So really there wasn't a lot of opportunity for us yesterday based off of our DMI. Really just kind of one spot where things line up and it just didn't work out. One of the nice things about the DMI is it's not just there to give you, strong winning opportunity along with context and so forth. It's also there to help you with selectivity. So one trade, one loss, that's not a bad situation to find yourself in on a day where your DMI level just does not work out very well as a support or resistance zone for the session. So the randomness of the market kind of taking over here, not really being a great spot for us during the session, but overall, the way the market kind of worked out, only really one strong opportunity. A second opportunity possible if you were willing to kind of compromise a little bit on location in terms of that line in the sand. But like I said, it's questionable. So whether or not you see this as an opportunity is up to you. But at the bare minimum, definitely only really one solid, strong opportunity based on the acceptance read and the overall landscape with that line in the sand and DMI. All right, so let's update our plan and levels for today. Taking a look at what's going on here today, we have kind of an interesting picture because we have a rotational time frame here back and forth that's in the context of a bigger narrative, a bigger area of what can happen. And the best way to kind of describe what's going on today is we have a clear picture as to what's happening within the lower time frames, but our upper time frames are kind of out in open space, and they can end up basically going in either direction from this area. So really, the DMI is going to boil down into what's happening in this zone here. We're basically going to be monitoring that zone with alternate scenarios coming out of that. So let's take a look at some of these alternate scenarios. Starting out with scenario 1, that's the current what is picture. That's staying inside of this zone. So scenario 1 would be more of the same, more back and forth rotational picture here in between these two areas, these two lines in the sand. All right, so that's scenario 1. Scenario 2 is a break to the upside, where we end up seeing this upper zone clear, we get up into this neutral area, and then continuation to the upside here. Overall destination or target is around that 50.13 area. We do have a stretch target up above that goes pretty much up into all-time highs, up into here, in this neutral zone here, up into the 50.24s, so forth. That would be kind of the stretch target overall for scenario 2. Now, taking a look at scenario 3, things get a little more complicated if we break to the downside because we start running into that higher time frame line in the sand area that's bullish. So if we break down and head down into scenario 3, that would be the overall destination for what we were expecting with scenario 3. Then from there, we monitor this line in the sand for any type of inflection back up, looking for these as targets. If it breaks down, then we start to see a lot of open space with some neutral targets down below. And that's kind of the full breakdown of what's going on with today's DMI. It's not the most straightforward in terms of context today, simply because we are out in some open space on some higher time frames, and we do have a very clear indication of what's going on with some of our lower time frames, in other words, being balanced or rotational inside of this area here. So what we're really kind of looking at is, do we remain in that balance, or do we break and go into a trend or an imbalance from out of this area. And those are the main scenarios you want to be watching out for in today's session. All right, so that's our game plan. Trade well. Make sure you mind your risk in your process, and let's get after it.